Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast presented by Gold Boys. Coming up on the show today, Raheem Palmer of The Ringer will join us. We will talk about the NBA playoffs. In the playoffs are where we will start. I also get to my thoughts here on the rest of the NFL draft. I did a show right after the first round with Matt McAfee on Friday. If you want to go back and listen, had rounds 2 through 7 on Friday and Saturday. Do have some thoughts on those coming up. But the playoffs are where we start. Let's be honest, it's been kind of a whole on playoffs. I thought a lot of people thought like I did, that this would be a great first round, dramatic games, dramatic series. It really hadn't been that, hasn't been that. We did have the Monday night where Philly and New York and the Lakers Nuggets back-to-back doubleheader. Murray hits the buzzer beater. The wild finish, Sixers Knicks. That was game 2 for both those series. And we had the crazy game that early Friday afternoon or late Friday afternoon, Pacers Bucks with the 3-pointers by Middleton. But other than that, it's been a lot of blowouts, a lot of lopsided series, lopsided games. Sunday was a little better. I thought Knicks Sixers could possibly be headed 7. I think if the Sixers had won game 4, that's where we'd be headed. But that's not going to be the case, I don't think, as the Knicks head home with a commanding 3-1 lead. And that series, that game, I should say, really symbolizes what the Sixers era has been with Embiid, where it just leaves you feeling a little empty, leaves you feeling like they should be a little bit better. Embiid's always coming up short in these spots. I know he had 50 on Friday, and he's dealing with every ailment under the sun, as he always is, but a chance to dunk the ball late, chance for a wide open jumper. He goes up with a soft layup. He's crying for a foul, and the Knicks win the game and take a dominant, commanding 3-1 series lead. And a few things about that game. I think a few plays that get lost here. And by the way, we do not need to see Dawn Staley every 2 minutes. And every time Philly went to the line, got a foul, and Embiid is the master at just ripping that arm through and kind of using your physicality against you and getting the free throw line. It's a big part of his game, and you really didn't do anything else down the stretch. But we do not need to see Dawn Staley every 30 seconds. Every time Philly scores, every time Philly goes line, they cut to Dawn Staley. She's holding up the fingers for a number of fouls. We didn't see a lot of Dawn Staley the last 5-10 minutes of that game. I noticed they didn't cut to her. But a couple things that I did think went under the radar. There were a few rebounds where the Sixers had their hands on them. But Batum had both hands on the ball, slips through his fingers. This was end of the third quarter, maybe early fourth, leads to a hard 3. Another time, Maxey had the rebound, just kind of bobbling it, a little bit of a butterfinger situation. Karam's loose. Knicks get it. Knicks get a bucket. And those 5 points right there, and there were other opportunities where the Knicks just kept getting offensive rebounds, second chances. Those are where that's where Philly lost the game, where they just could not control the glass. They could not get off the field, so to speak, almost like the football term where, hey, third and long, just get off the field. Do not get the holding penalty. Do not rough the passer. Just sloppy little subtle things to keep the Knicks alive with extra possessions really came back to bite the Sixers. Lowry at the end, as the Knicks kind of let him back in with missed free throws, the Sixers had opportunities. Philly goes to the line, down 4, Lowry shooting 2, and Lowry is just a master here at just these cheap fouls, as is Embiid, and both sides are guilty of it. It's a big problem throughout the league of just not even trying to score, not even trying to make a basket. You're just trying to get a cheap foul call. It's become tough, and okay, I can't blame players for doing it, but it has become an issue. But anyway, Lowry goes to the line down 4, makes the first one, and then intentionally misses the second. With 7 seconds left, I can defend the play. It's 6 of one, half dozen the other. I kind of would rather make the free throw, cut it to 2, and who knows? Maybe you get a split. Maybe you get a turnover. I think I'd rather be 2. If you're going to miss it down 3, you have to make sure everyone's on the same page, because if you saw the guys behind him, I think it was Maxey and Oubre who were just kind of dilly-dallying around the half-court line. They didn't crash the glass and go for the loose ball. If they did, maybe you get a loose ball and you shoot the 3, and who knows? You tie the game, you catch the Knicks off guard, almost like an onside kick. But it was almost like Lowry went rogue where, hey, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to go for the quick surprise miss, get the ball. We're going to tie with 3. Again, I don't think I would do it, but not a horrible idea. But it is a horrible idea if you're not all on the same page. You need all 5 guys trying for the ball there. So it was not to be. The Knicks get the rebound. Brunson ices it at the free throw line eventually. As again, the Knicks kind of left the door open a little bit, but I was hoping this would maybe be a 7-gamer with, hey, the regional rivalry. A lot of the Knicks guys played at Nova. There's the New York Philly rivalry. There was a lot of just old school playoff intensity, East Coast basketball, physical. Was hoping for 7, but Knicks with a chance to not only go home and clinch it in game 5, but the reason this game had so much importance, the reason I'm kind of leading with it, if you look at the other side of the bracket, Pacers, Bucks, the Bucks all beat up. The Pacers in good shape here to win that series, as they are playing here in game 4 as we're recording this. It's almost like a double win. It's almost like, again, anything can happen in sports. got to caveat that with all of this, got to throw that provision in there. If the Knicks win the series, whoever wins the series, they're going to be big favorites in the next round with Lillard hurt, Giannis hurt. If you're going to end up with a situation where you get Indiana at home in the second round, the Knicks are going to be in the conference finals. Now, they'll have the work cut out for them. Boston's the better team. Boston's have home court. Boston home court hasn't meant a lot, but Boston will be a monster favorite in that series, and I think Boston would get through that series. But if you're the Knicks, hey, you get to a conference finals. Anything from there on is gravy. You go in, you take your shots. Who knows? You steal a game on the road, you force it to a game 6 or 7. Anything, anything other than just a complete blowout, embarrassing sweep, and even that, you're in the conference finals. You're in the Final Four, and the Knicks with an opportunity to do that with a winning game. Number 5, close out Philly. And if they do close out Philly, I do think they're going to the conference final. So just an enormous win. Somebody finally breaks through. It's interesting in these playoffs. If nobody breaks through in terms of home court, it ends up just kind of being a home court series throughout. Unless somebody breaks through early, usually nobody breaks through at all. So the Knicks are finally able to, not finally, but 4 games in, a road team wins. And now they get 5 at home. They have a 7 at home. They get 6 in Philly. Knicks are not going to lose 3 in a row. I would not think, even though Philly, hey, on paper, do they have the better talent? Probably, maybe, but Embiid's always limping around. Brunson's just more reliable than Embiid. Okay, Embiid's got the MVP. Embiid's got the superstar talent, and Brunson's just sort of a try-hard guy. But Brunson, and trust me, I was wrong about that signing. I never thought he'd be this level of player. Brunson's just more reliable, more consistent, where Embiid, you never know what you're going to have out of the fourth quarter. He's always fighting conditioning, injuries. So the Knicks move on. Credit to them. I think they will win this series, and I think they will be in the conference finals, which is just an amazing accomplishment for this Knicks franchise, which was a laughingstock for so many years. Other series, I don't think there's anybody in the world that thought Dallas was going to lose that game. Coming from 31 down, they finally get a lead. The building's going crazy. George hits some big shots, and the Clippers steal that game. So give the Clippers credit. I don't know that there's a path for them to win the series if Kawhi is not going to be healthy, but they're almost better with Kawhi just sitting if you're going to get what we got out of him in game 2 and game 3. It's funny. The Clippers, you figure, hey, they need Kawhi, which I agree with. They're 2-0 without Kawhi, 0-2 with Kawhi. So again, even though games 5 and 7 are in LA, I do think Dallas figures out a way with their roster, with the beat up nature of the Clippers, to get 2 out of 3 here and win that series. Lakers Nuggets. Lakers forced the game 5. Murray banged up, which adds some intrigue. I think Nuggets will probably win game 5. I think the Nuggets will win the series. That being said, it'll probably happen in our lifetime, a team down 3-0 winning the series. I thought it might happen last year with the Celtics and the Heat. If Tatum to get hurt, who knows? It might have. I'm not saying it'll happen now, but you never know. And if you're the Lakers, hey, just figure out a way to win game 5 and get on a plane for LA in game 6. And all of a sudden, you know what? The pressure is on the Nuggets. Easier said than done, but at least maybe there's some intrigue. Just kind of rooting for some intrigue in this first round. Again, blowout after blowout. What a terrible job by the Suns. Again, we're recording this before that game's about to start. I don't care if they win game 4. They're not winning that series. And that leads me into my next thing before we get to Raheem. A lot of these teams that went all in and just, hey, this is the year. Forget the future. We're going all in. We're shoving. Forget our draft picks. Clippers, Bucks, Suns, Lakers to some extent, although Lakers have some picks coming to them. Clippers. A lot of these veteran teams that went all in are not even going to sniff the second round. Imagine this time last year when the Suns, they traded for Durant and then they doubled down, traded for Beal. Imagine telling them, hey, you're going to lose the second round to the Nuggets. Then the next year, you're not even going to sniff round 2. I wonder if some of these superstars, some of these teams that went all in are going to start to change teams a little bit. It's been a little quiet the last year or so after just seemed like every couple of months they had superstars changing teams. Harden, LeBron, Anthony Davis. I mean, you go down the line, Kawhi. I mean, there was just a nonstop nature of these guys changing teams. I wonder if that's going to start to stir up a little bit with these teams that go all in. They don't see a path to winning a championship, and they say, you know what, maybe we flip Durant and we try to get some of our picks back. We're not winning. That would make some sense. You know, what do the Clippers do? Is Giannis happy? Embiid? Did the Sixers see a dead end there? I got a feeling some of this is going to start to get stirred back up. Would LeBron think about leaving the Lakers? Again, all it takes is one of these guys to change teams and change the landscape. I got a feeling that might be coming this summer. That'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. Before we get to Raheem, just quickly on the draft, a couple teams I think that did really good jobs. Again, just completely ridiculous what the Falcons did. I almost don't want to discuss it. It's just too easy to pile on. Just absurd to give Cousins all that money and then double down on quarterbacks and take Penix, who's an older player, injury prone. Makes no sense. I like what the Chiefs did. I like what the Chargers did. Chiefs get Worthy, explosive player, ended up round 1, trade up to do so. And then they get a lineman a lot of people thought they would get in round 1. They get him late in round 2. So the Chiefs are set up. Nice draft. in the Chargers, I was doing the show. I think it was Matt Humans on Friday. I was doing the show with. He made the point. Harbaugh took over for Michigan, and he couldn't quite catch Ohio State. Every year he'd creep a little closer, and eventually he caught him, and eventually he just beat him a few times in a row. You kind of get the sense that it's the same dynamic with the Chargers and the Chiefs. Or, all right, he's probably not catching the Chiefs this year. He might not catch the Chiefs next year, but you give him enough time. He wins wherever he goes. Eventually, he might catch the Chiefs here, and they get the big time offensive lineman all at number 5 in the first round, and then they get McConkey, who's a big time receiver. I think he's going to be really good with Herbert. And some of these early second round, late first round receivers caught on to nice situations, whether it's McConkey, the Georgia receiver with Herbert, Worthy with Mahomes and the Chiefs, Coleman going to the Bills. Some of these receivers, you'd rather just go at the end of the first round, early second round, than, would you rather be neighbors and go to the Giants with Jones and get passes thrown over your head for the next 3 years? I don't know if you would, as opposed to some of these guys, you get big time quarterbacks. So I like what the Chargers done. I think they really kind of restacked the cupboard a little bit with talent. Now they got a long way to go. They still need some skill guys. They still need help on defense, but Harbaugh is going to instill a toughness. You're starting to see the building blocks with the Chargers. So I thought the Chargers had a nice draft. I thought the Chiefs had a nice draft. I went down this path last year with the Jets. I think the Jets are going to be good. They get the offensive lineman from Penn State. They get the Western Kentucky receiver, who's a really good player, an under the radar player. They didn't go flashy early. I like the idea that you pass on Bowers and you just restock the offensive lineman, keep Rodgers healthy, keep him upright, give this thing a chance to get off the ground. So you got a good defense. You're going to have a good offensive line now, which was the absolute biggest weakness last year. And you had no quarterback and no offensive line. You still won 7 games because of the defense. You had that with Garrett Wilson, with Breece Hall, Mike Williams, this Western Kentucky receiver. I think the Jets are going to fly under the radar this year. So we'll see which of these numbers move. None of the futures really move. Some of the win totals, the juice moved a little bit, like the Bears 8.5 was -110. Now it's -140. We haven't seen a ton of movement, but we will do more NFL as, again, it quietly creeps up on you. If you're paying attention to these NBA, NHL playoffs, by the time they end, it's every night you got multiple games. When you look up, by the time they end, you're in June, NBA draft, some baseball, and before you know it, you're getting ready for preseason football. So exciting times ahead. We'll discuss more playoffs next with Raheem Palmer. That is next. This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Shoulda Bet More podcast. You can catch him at The Ringer, where he is the star of all of their gambling content. First-time guest. He joins us now. It is Raheem Palmer. Raheem, what's up, man? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's always an honor. I've been listening to you on VSiN forever, so it's finally great, to be able to catch up and be able to do something together.
You're in a good mood now, but I'm gonna probably change your mood here. I got to ask you. You're a Philly guy. I got to ask you about the Sixers, man. I thought, there were points in this game where, hey, it's 2-2. Maybe we're headed to a game 7 at some point. Philly, New York. This is what the playoffs are about. But the playoffs have not been kind to the Sixers, and the Sixers fall short again today. Are you confident? Is this kind of a symbol of the last 6-7 years for the Sixers? Where are you at here with Philly?
It is definitely a symbol of the last, the whole process area, really. But I mean, when you watch this game, it's like the struggles that they had has been there the entire postseason. They can't rebound the ball. The Knicks had a 35% offensive rebound rate. So the Knicks are getting all of these extra possessions, and we can't do anything with it. And then obviously Joel Embiid, he's a monster. But the biggest thing that you saw during the Joel Embiid era is that they can't survive him when he's off the court. You go back to 2019, they lost the playoff series against the Toronto Raptors, where they basically lost the series on the minutes he didn't play. Tonight, Joel Embiid was a +1, and they lost by 5. So he couldn't even rest the entire second half. You've got to be able to find minutes to rest Joel Embiid when he's coming off of this meniscus injury. So very tragic stuff. And then the bench didn't do anything. We have 6 bench points. Come on, at home.
Yeah, and you hit on the rebounding. It kind of got glossed over in the coverage, but I think it was the end of the third quarter. Batum just kind of had butterfingers, where it's one of those 50-50 balls. You don't think too much of it, but if you're sweating these games, it's like, oh my God, that was huge. Where Batum had the ball, every possession's huge, a low-scoring game, just kind of trickled off his fingers. I think Hart hit a 3. And then there was another possession, kind of early, mid-fourth quarter. Maxey had control of a rebound. Oh, but it gets away from him. Knicks get a couple points. And all of a sudden, hey, that's 5 points that add up in a game where it's one possession at the end. And those little things kind of add up. Embiid has a chance, open jumper, chance to dunk at the end, nothing there. So, boy, it just a brutal loss. Did you have a problem with Lowry trying to miss the free throw at the end like that?
I thought it was smart, but you got to communicate with your teammates. What are you doing?
100%.
Like Kyle Lowry is he's always been one of my favorite players because I just love the effort, especially in his peak. But I feel like they brought him over for veteran leadership, and he just hasn't done well at communicating. Like, even in game 2, he didn't call that timeout. You got to call a timeout there, and you inbound that ball. We're looking at a 2-2 series now. We're possibly just have a chance of going up 3-1. So it's just brutal.
100%. I'm 6-1, half dozen the other. Make the free throw and cut it to 2, and make the Knicks make a free throw. And hey, if you split, you're in the same position you're in. I don't mind missing the free throw because you're catching the Knicks off guard. A loose ball 3, who knows? It's not a bad play. It's a heady play, but you hit on it. You got to communicate. The guys in the back, I think it was Max, I forget who else, they were kind of, just dilly-dallying. They certainly weren't aware whether Lowry communicated or not. They weren't like crashing the glass expecting the ball, and that's everything because you're counting on the element of surprise there. Hey, we'll steal possession, almost like an onside kick in football. And if everyone's not on the same page, it's not a good play. If everyone is on the same page, I can buy it. But yeah, you got to let them know, hey, I'm missing. This is what we're doing, and that's how you steal a possession there.
And then the thing was, there was only 7.5 seconds left.
Yes.
So I understood why Lowry did that. But I mean, like I said this on the Philly Special podcast, which I do at the Ringer as well. Like, what do you think Kelly Oubre's awareness is in NBA 2K at this point in time? I mean, this guy, like, he gets into accidents. I don't want to comment on people's personal lives, but he gets into accidents on bikes. He wrecks Lamborghinis. I mean, he injured Jimmy Butler, punched Joel Embiid. His awareness is just poor.
We'll move on to other things here just quickly. Sixers 6-1 to rally back and win this series. It feels like if anyone could do it, they could at least. Hey, they could steal one in the Garden. They almost did. It feels more like you said a 2-2 series than a 3-1 series. Is 6-1 enough for you to bite or not really?
No. And I mean, the reason why is because when you look at the last 2 games, Jalen Brunson's been a participant. He was a late participant. He came late to the party, but you dropped 39 in game 3. You dropped, what did you drop 49? 47? Like he's gotten going. And the one thing that we know that's a constant throughout the series is the Sixers can't rebound the ball. So the Knicks are going to get multiple chances to rebound the ball. Like the Sixers stink in transition. There's just so many things that can beat the Sixers, and they just don't do the little things well. And then Joel Embiid is still banged up. And I think, the one key thing is I'm really big on, the cumulative impact of games. So you look at Joel Embiid. He played the entire second half. That's fine, but you got to get that game. Otherwise, I mean, you did it all for nothing. It's going to impact him in the following game. So, I mean, it's only 1 day rest. I don't know how he's going to perform well in game 5 at all.
I feel like when the Clippers blew a 31-point lead and the Mavs finally pulled out in front, I don't think there was anyone in the world that actually thought the Clippers would rally back and win it. They did. Give them credit. I've been hard on them. That was a gutty effort. What are you looking for the last 3 games of the series? Do you figure without Kawhi at 100%, Dallas still figures out a way to get 2 out of the last 3? Where are you at here with Clips and Mavs?
So I had the Mavericks minus 110 or so to win the series. I'm just going to ride those out. I think the Mavericks probably get it done, but this is as close to a pick'em series and you'll be able to find. I think, obviously there's some Ewing theory stuff with Kawhi Leonard. He's not the same guy, but the Clippers have more than enough. They're actually the deeper team. So this is probably going to go 7 or so, but I'm sticking with my Mavs play on this one.
Yeah, I would agree. I would think Dallas probably wins their next home game and they figure out a way to get a split in LA. It's not always easy to win game 7 on the road, but the Clippers, that's not like a vintage home court where it's not like Madison Square Garden or Philly or some of these other rabid fan bases. That's a place you can win. And I do think Dallas has the better roster. I saw you tweeting about this and it's funny. I was kind of on the same page with you. I feel like Denver probably wins the series. I think they probably win game 5, but now Murray's questionable. Nobody's ever come from 3-0 down in the NBA. It's probably going to happen in our lifetime. Can LA force a game 7? It sounds like you think LA's got a little life here. Denver laying 7.5 on Monday night. Make your case here for the Lakers.
So I don't know. Part of this is, just trauma from 2016. I've never been the biggest LeBron fan. I was always like a Steph Curry fan. So I was rooting for, I didn't have any betting interest in the series, but I was rooting for the Warriors. And it's just like the Lakers in this series have led for like 169 minutes compared to 41 for the Nuggets. And I don't care what anybody says. That's not normal. Like, I mean, there's very few series that you can point to where one team is this dominant and it's down 3-1. You just can't find it. So I think that was a concern. But then when you look at the Denver Nuggets, they're not the deep team that they were last year. Obviously, you lose Bruce Brown, you lose Jeff Green. And then you look at them, they're basically predicated on their starting lineup. And Jamal Murray, he has 92 shots. He has 86 points on 92 shots in the series. So he hasn't, outside of that 5-minute stretch where he went off in game 2 and hit the game winner, he hasn't been the same guy. And now he's questionable for the series. And, my guy, Matt Moore from the Action Network, he covers the Denver Nuggets. He's listed all the stats about how the Nuggets have performed when one guy is missing out of that starting lineup this year. And it's not pretty. So all it takes is, one guy to be banged up, the Lakers to have a lead. Because how many times can we expect this Nuggets team to just come back from 21, come back from 10? It's just, as good as they are, I don't think they're the juggernaut that people think they are, despite having, the best player in the game in Jokic. So I think there's a legitimate shot. And I hate to say this, but I think game 5 is a must-win game because we know about the Lakers in the NBA and I don't want to be conspiracy theorists, but the Lakers, you look statistically, they have a massive free throw advantage over every other team in the league. So if they win game 5, why wouldn't you expect a Laker whistle at home?
Yeah,
and then anything could happen in game 7.
Yeah, it's funny when you go up 3-0 or 3-1. Obviously it's a massive advantage. You'd rather be up 3-0 or 3-1 than down 3-0 or 3-1. But then the pressure is off the team that's losing. The pressure does get added to the team that win it. And if I'm LA, hey, make them get on a flight to LA. If we go to LA for game 6, obviously you'd rather still be up 3-2 than down 3-2. But all of a sudden, hey, nobody's ever blown a 3-0 lead. It starts to get in their head. I really thought Boston was going to be the team to pull it off last year, and Tatum gets hurt. Otherwise, who knows? Maybe they will. But one game at a time. How would you play this? Would you take the 7.5 tomorrow? Take the plus 260 on the money line? Take the 15-1 to win the series? Is there any betting angle here for you in terms of the Lakers?
I'm still thinking about this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I probably would. If Murray being questionable, I'll probably just play the whole thing. I'll play him I saw 18-1 to actually win the series. I would also, I probably would sprinkle something on them to win the West too, because if they get through this, they have favorable matchups going forward. So, what's putting some beer money on it to take a shot, in a situation to where if they don't have Murray, they're in a tough position. So that's how I would play it. I'm not sure if I'm going to play anything on tomorrow's game. I still want to look at that injury report. Obviously, it is the Nuggets at home, so it's always tough to fade them at home. But I'm big on taking those lottery tickets at times.
They can be fun. If nothing else, they're fun. And who knows? Maybe things go well. You put yourself in a position where you can hedge off and free roll or just earn a profit. I'm looking here. 120-1 to win the whole thing, 60-1 to win the West. I feel kind of crazy even talking about this, but hey, those are those aren't bad numbers. That either of those numbers appeal to you as I'm shopping around here.
Would you say those numbers were again?
60-1 to win the West, 121 to win the whole thing.
Shoot,
if you're actually going to win the championship, so
yeah,
that
it just
would be
doesn't
the counter. Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like you're kind of throwing away money, but it's just one of those situations to where if you're going to take them to win the series, why not? But I probably won't do it, to be honest with you.
All right, so that is this is the importance of shopping around. That was at DraftKings. If you look at FanDuel, 100-1 to win the West, 210-1 to win the whole thing. You know what? At 210-1, I'll bet on pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Those numbers are not terrible.
Yeah, at those numbers, it's just like it's astronomical at that point.
Yeah, it really is. And probably talking myself into a bad decision, but you know what? I've made dumber bets. Other bets for Monday. Celtics. Heat feels like the Celtics kind of not figure things out, but that was ridiculous to even lose one game to this Miami team. They covered up the 3-point line better Saturday night, dominated, looked like a really good team as they should. OKC laying 4.5 to the Pelicans. The Pelicans, my goodness, that was not pretty on Saturday. That was an all-time Barkley rant. Either of these games interest you from a betting standpoint?
I think I'm more interested in Oklahoma City than, Boston is they're just such a funny team to me. Like they pick and choose when they want to show up. I think they get bored. They mess around. So as much as they should cover this game, it's just one of those situations to where it wouldn't surprise me if they just, went out there and said, we're going to win by 5, we're going to win by 7. I would probably play the under here just because, it's pretty clear that Miami, unless they just have an outlandish shooting performance as they did in game 2, they're not going to be able to score efficiently against this Celtics team. So I'd be looking towards the under there. That's probably how I would approach it. And then as far as Oklahoma City, you're looking at top 5 offense and defense, and the Pelicans can't score. So I definitely would, I hate laying into those inflated numbers, but that's probably where I'll be looking.
I hate getting involved too when a series is 3-0 because sometimes the team that's down 3-0 packs it and hey, it's over 1-2-3 Cancun. But sometimes the team that's up 3-0 says, you know what, we went on the road, we got our split. If we have to come back for game 5, it's no big deal. So it's interesting where it's hard to factor in the motivation for each team. I feel like when you get involved 3-0, it's a little bit of a coin flip where you don't know, the motivation really for either side.
Yeah,
Uh,
without a doubt.
Tuesday. This is weird. I guess all that matters in Magic Cavs, and this is the series that's kind of gone under the radar for good reason. It's been hard to watch. All that matters is who's the home team. What floor are they playing on? Cavs laying 4.5. Do you think the Magic can actually pull this off, win one in Cleveland, and then close it in Orlando? Or is this just, home court's going to prevail here?
I think home court's going to prevail at least for Game 6. I think in a Game 7, anything can happen, but I think the Cavs bounce back here. I really do. I mean, they were up double digits in the first half, and then the wheels fell off in the third quarter. So I think the Cavs win on Tuesday night. So I'll probably be on them in that spot. But I mean, if this goes 7, I think anything could happen, especially when you look at the fact that Donovan Mitchell, he doesn't look like the same guy. I just think they can put it together for one game at home in Game 5.
Yeah, it's interesting because they were laying like 5-6 in games 1 and 2. Now we're down to 4.5. So I would go back to the under. Now it was a lucky win. I don't know if you followed the total. That was a lucky win for the Game 4 under because there was 111 at the half and they were playing a super fast pace in what's been an ugly series. But the Cavs couldn't score in the second half and it stays under, depending on where and when you got the number, stays under by like a point, a half a point. Game 5, I think it's sort of a proxy for Game 7. We know Game 7s usually go under. Game 5, you can figure, hey, the winner of this game is probably going to win the series. I like playing Game 5 unders because of the intensity and the game I feel like slows down. So they did play a little faster on Saturday in Game 4, but I don't know, that 201 looks a little high. 3 out of these 4 games have gone under. I would expect probably another 94, 90, 87 type of game. I would look towards another under here.
And the crazy thing about that game is that game was trending under in the first quarter.
Yes.
And then you got like
time.
a 7. So I had the first half under. I had the first half under 103. And I just I've been kind of running bad. I don't know if you saw it on my Twitter. It's literally probably I've been
As
doing
we all do.
I've been doing media 4 years. I've been betting like 15 years. This has been the worst run of my life in terms of NBA postseason. Like I had the first half under 103 and a half, and you got like a 70-point second quarter. And then the rest of the game, it was trending under. And it's just one of those quarters to where it changed the whole facet of the game because that game was a dead nuts under all the way. So I agree with you. I think you're going to see an under here in Game 5 as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I had all the unders for Game 1, but I don't know if you remember. I had the first quarter under Game 1. It was like, it's going to be ugly. First quarter, early start, and they scored like 60 something in the first quarter. Then nobody could score the rest of the game. So there was sort of that same scenario with this being the second quarter. And you mentioned the first half under was 103 and a half. I was following along. The live total got down to like 92 and a half, 93 and a half. Where if you get that big of a gap in a first half, you can't worry about overtime. There's no fouls. You're going to win that game 80 something percent of the time, 90 something percent of the time. And then, boy, they just played super fast. Both teams were just going back and forth. So yeah, man, we all have those runs.
Yeah, man, it's absolutely brutal. But I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I agree with you. It's dead nuts under on Game 5.
Any other thoughts here? I'll ask it this way. Let me bring this up. A lot of these teams went all in. Clippers, Bucks, Suns. LeBron's got a player option. A lot of these teams went all in with picks. A lot of older teams were seeing sort of a change in the guard. Do you think anybody trades a superstar this summer, whether it's Durant? Giannis, I don't think he'll ask out now, but there's been whispers he's not happy. You go down the line, the Clippers guys, Embiid. Do you think we see an unhappy superstar? Because that's kind of what the league's about is having enough assets to be ready to trade for the next unhappy superstar. Do you think we see one dealt this summer?
Oh, without a doubt. You're going to see massive player movement. I mean, Trae Young has probably played his last game as an Atlanta Hawk. I think that's clear. When it comes to the Suns, that's weird because, you have a new owner in there, and we all know how new owner syndrome tends to play out. It's just he's going to make some type of move. So I don't know if it's going to be KD asking out. I mean, it does seem a little bit soon since he just got there last year, but I think they have to make a move when it comes to the Clippers. I don't know what you do because you're going to have to pay Paul George, you're going to have to pay James Harden, and those guys are free agents. So one of those guys isn't going to be there. So we're going to see massive player movement without a doubt this summer.
Going into a new building too, which, hey, they want to put fans in the stands. They're always competing with the Lakers, but feels just like an old creaky roster where it seems like a massive underdog where, hey, I'm going to go into training camp in September, and then I'm going to be the last man standing in June, and I'm going to keep all these older guys healthy. Kawhi, George, Harden, I'm going to pay them. I'm going to re-sign them. They're going to be healthy, and we're going to win the championship. Seems like a stretch, doesn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, they already extended him, and it just feels like he's not going to make it through that contract at all. And, with Paul George, he's just such a streaky player that, I mean, if you extend him, I mean, there's talks about the Philadelphia 76ers picking him up. And I think if they pick him up, they're going to regret it.
Yeah. Was hoping for a better first round. Sunday was a little better. We're recording this Sunday night, so we'll see how the rest of these games play out. I do think we'll get a good second round, especially if it's Mavs Thunder, and we'll just call it Nuggets Timberwolves. And then the series in the East. I don't know. Are you still thinking Nuggets Celtics in the finals or some other combination?
I think the Celtics are. I mean, they're going to win in the East. Like, it would stun me. Like, to me, it would be a catastrophic upset if they did not win the East, especially when you see what's going on with the Philadelphia 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Knicks. They're a hungry, gritty team, but I just don't think they have enough. So it would really stun me if the Celtics didn't win the East. Now, when it comes to our West, I mean, like, the way the Nuggets have looked in this series, they're not playing their best basketball. Like I'm really concerned about them. And, I can't stress that enough. I know Jokic is the best player in the league, but they do not look like a juggernaut at all. So I could easily see this Clippers or this Mavericks team, really challenging them. Oklahoma City, obviously they have their issues with just not having bigs, but like anybody could win the West at this point. But I mean, I think Denver is definitely the favorite.
Yeah, Denver reminds me a little bit. There's some similarities with them and the Chiefs where look at the Chiefs sometimes this year. All right, man, they don't have any receivers. All right, this is a flawed team. But you know what? End of a close game. I have Patrick Mahomes and you don't. And you kind of feel like that with Jokic. All right, you'd like another piece on the bench. All right, you'd like this to be better, not shooting the three well. You know what? It's a close game. This team has Jokic. The other team doesn't. And I feel like that is the tiebreaker with Denver.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. I like that one. Because it's just at the end of the day, it's just they're going to out execute you. But the problem comes is Murray healthy, because he has not looked good this postseason, and he does have that calf strain. And we know how serious calf injuries are.
All right, Raheem, you're the best, man. Last one before you get there, I got to ask you. You're a Philly guy. The Eagles draft, everyone's excited. Everyone loves Howie Roseman. I look, once round one ends, I'm kind of in and out of it. I think you're the same way, but can you sense the optimism here with the Eagles? Do you think they improve this roster enough, or is it too early to tell?
I do think they've improved the roster. I'm a Cowboys fan, so
I thought you were a Philly guy. Okay, so you're Sixers Cowboys.
So this is what it is. So my favorite players growing up were Kobe and Allen Iverson. So I was a Sixers and a Lakers fan. I don't really root for the Lakers as much anymore post Kobe years. I'm not really the biggest. I mean, not really post Kobe years, but more so LeBron, because I rooted for Brandon Ingram and all of them. But I'm a big Sixers guy. I had some friends on the team. Like, I knew Lou Williams. He used to come to my club when I was DJing. So that whole era where Iggy and Andre Iguodala and Lou Williams and all them,
Elton
they would come to the yeah. I love that team. They used to come to the club, and if they won a game, it would be lit. So I was an Iverson fan, but that team, that 2011 team, I was really rocking with the team. So I really was like, I was more in tune with the city. So I rock with them. But as far as like football, I was a diehard Cowboys fan my whole life. When I first started watching football in 1992, I saw the Blue Star, Emmett, Troy Aikman. I wasn't about to root for Bubby Brister and Rodney Peete over the Big Three. And then when they got Dion, it was just like, all right, yeah, I'm really hooked. So that was my team. So, and I'm a Phillies guy, but it's just like, I do not like the Eagles. I hate the Eagles.
Interesting. I knew the Philly connection. Now that you mentioned it's ringing a bell a little bit, but man, so we're pretty much exactly the same age. It would have been hard to tell 9-10-year-old us that, hey, this Cowboys Super Bowl, this Cowboys NFC Championship, enjoy it, because you're not going to be back for the next like 25 something years. It would have been very hard to explain to us when we were kids.
Oh, without a doubt. And I mean, the thing is too, I didn't have my dad around, because a lot of times when you have your dad around, they'll be like, yeah, you're rooting for the home team. So I didn't have that. I just had, who was good. And then, as I got older, I started to see the connection between the city and the team, as opposed to just, I'm rooting for this team. So I kind of actually regret being a Cowboys fan. I wish I could be. Like, it's so funny because when the Michael Vick years in Philly, I used to DJ at his wife's store, Kiafa. She had a store on South Street, and I would DJ. And I was like, I got a chance to meet Vic and everything like that. And I wanted to be an Eagles fan so bad, but I just could not turn, because the Cowboys are my favorite team in sports.
Something you can't turn off. Your favorite teams are your favorite teams, unless you're good enough to play a sport and get drafted by that team, or unless you have a relative that plays for a team. Our teams are our teams, and nothing changes that. That's the beauty of sports.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Raheem, you're the best, man. We got to do this more often. I appreciate you coming on. Let everyone know where they can find your stuff.
You could find me at The Ringer. You could also find me, the Roster Diamond Show every Friday. You can find me on East Coast Bias. We do that twice a week, once on FanDuel TV, once on Spotify. You also find me, I am Roster Diamonds on Twitter. And that's how it's going down.
All right, man. Appreciate you coming on. We'll do this again soon.
No doubt. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, that will do it. Thank you to Raheem Palmer. We will be back Wednesday, do a little more NBA. We'll get back to some baseball, keep covering the NFL draft. So busy time of the year. See you guys middle of the week. Thank you for listening. Rate, review, subscribe. See you then.